the budget impact has been on the auto space. Who better than Mr. R.C. Bhargava, who is the chairman of Maruti Suzuki, who joins in right now on the show. Thanks so much for taking time out and being with us, Mr. Bhargava. To begin with, can you run us through what have been your reactions on this year's budget? How would you describe it? And do you think it was on expected lines or not?
Well, the budget was in some ways a surprise because one expected that it would be more populist and more directed towards elections. But actually, it covered a whole range of things and areas which, to my mind, are very important for creating a more equitable society and for giving people a better quality of life where even the poor people can live with some degree of dignity.
And rural growth seems to be key for the economy and the increase in rural spending. We saw a real thrust on that in the budget this time around, as well as the push on infrastructure development. Given the fact that this has been announced, Mr. Bhargava, can you tell us what kind of a benefit you foresee in light of this for the auto sector on the whole?
You know, the auto industry's growth depends very much on economic growth and widespread economic growth. So if the rural areas become more prosperous, if the incomes go up as has been promised, although I think that amount of growth promised is a little bit optimistic, but if it goes up, then the car business will benefit anyway.
Mr. Bhargav, rural growth is key for the economy and increase in rural spending. Given the thrust on growth and push for infra development, what kind of benefit do you see for the auto sector overall?
We were not seeking anything at all, really, because things have been going quite satisfactorily, and the kind of structural changes which were taking place in terms of GST and digitization and all that were all going to be good for our business. So we were not looking for anything, and actually nothing has happened which has any real impact on the automobile industry.
Okay. What about corporate tax rate, though? Because that's going to be brought down to 25% for companies with a turnover of up to 250 crore rupees. But that being retained for larger companies, what's your view?
I think essentially this decision is based on considerations of revenues. With the kind of commitments which the government has taken up in 1819 in the area of health and rural growth and all that, they can't give up some of the major sources of revenue. And the bigger companies are major sources of revenue. So I think it's a very simple question of revenue more than anything else.
But do you believe that the move could impact private investments at large going ahead?
You know, corporate taxes used to be much, much higher some years ago. And the reduction of corporate taxes was made with the expectation that internal resources of companies would go up, investments would go up, and there would be much greater industrial growth. It hasn't happened. And a lot of companies, especially the smaller companies, have actually not been fully tax compliant. So it's a very difficult issue to deal with because unless people are totally compliant with the taxes and don't find ways of getting at loopholes and evading taxes, reduction or not reduction of a few points is not going to make much of a difference anyway.
While there hasn't been any announcement for EVs, is the industry expecting any incentives eventually outside of the budget, perhaps, especially since the government is actively working towards controlling pollution level?
I think it's a little bit early for that to happen because a lot of the issues relating to electric vehicle production in India have yet to be properly defined and their parameters worked out as to what exactly is needed. But what is different in India and which I think will require attention of government at the appropriate time, is not the appropriate time yet, is the fact that unlike other countries, the bulk, three-quarters of our cars are small cars. And how to make small cars, which are e-small cars, affordable for the people who buy the small cars, I think that is going to be a challenge which other countries haven't faced. And there the government will have to look at some innovative ways of dealing with this problem.
Mr. Bhargav, such a pleasure joining you, or rather having you on the show with us, and just walking us through what you made of the budget this time.